Alright, so I was scrolling through YouTube and I came across this video. The hate for RuneScape 3 is not deserved. And this is by Josh Stein Gaming. And I found the video to be interesting, honestly. And I kind of wanted to watch with y'all and react to it and kind of give my own feedback on it because it is an interesting topic and it's something that everybody in the old school community and RS3 community kind of debates back and forth. Why RuneScape 3 is so hated. And I'm going to be stopping it every now and then just to kind of touch on some points and give my feedback and reply to some of the points that he does make in the video. Now, full transparency, I have played RuneScape 3. I have not played it as much. So I do have a little bit of, what would you say, experience with the game. And I have played a ton of old school RuneScape. So I do got a little bit of experience on both sides of the fence. I did play ELC back when it originally came out. It's actually what made me quit the game. And once Old School was released, I decided to go back on. So, you know what? Let me not talk any further. Let me go ahead and jump straight into the video. And like I said, I'll be stopping it when I think I have some feedback on anything.
I would be hesitant to make this video being afraid of getting disliked a whole bunch, but one thing I've learned is that if I make a video about RuneScape 3, it's likely going to receive dislikes just because of the game itself. Today, I'm here to talk about all of the hate that RuneScape 3 gets. Despite this video being controversial, I do ask that you at least hear out my full opinion, and then from there, form your own opinion, and then if you'd like to dislike this video, you absolutely can. Now, if you're someone that has played RuneScape 3 a whole bunch, and you decided that you really disliked it, I 100% respect your opinion, and it's likely very justified. However, I believe that there are a lot of people out there that actually never even booted up the tutorial that just hate on this game. Along with that, I also feel like there are people that just make a bunch of assumptions about this game and haven't actually fully experienced it for what it is.
Alright, just to touch on that real quick, he does kind of have a point because, well, when you're just kind of AFKing, let's say like shooting stars in Old School, right? You got a lot of time to kind of just sit back and actually engage with everybody else that's there. And RS3, funny enough, is a topic that comes up a lot, at least with me. I don't know if that's your experience, but at least with me, whenever I'm at the shooting stars, there's a lot of people that just kind of want to talk about RuneScape 3. Because it is a sore spot in a lot of people's hearts, really, when it comes to RuneScape 3 in the Old School community. And the thing you do notice a lot is that a lot of people hate on it, but when you start asking them questions about the game, or you bring up some kind of an update that was made, or anything about the game, they have never played the game. They maybe logged on once and they saw something that they didn't like and kind of logged out right away. So he is right about that. And I was that same guy until I decided to hop on the game and try it out. But yeah, that's a good point.
I truly believe that this game is a love letter to OG RuneScape. This game is very different from what it was, but it really is an evolution. I almost look at it like a house and the way a house gets renovated over the years. RuneScape 3 is a massive renovation of what RuneScape was. It's a lot more casual now. It's a lot more beginner friendly now. It's made a lot of improvements to make the game easier. It's made grinding way easier. It's also made things a lot more efficient and streamlined to save you some time.
Alright, so let me go back and play that part again because I really wanted to talk about that.
Like a house and the way a house gets renovated over the years. RuneScape 3 is a massive renovation of what RuneScape was.
The thing is though, I don't believe that it's just a renovation. Instead of renovating the house, I believe they sold it and they bought a completely new house. And now it doesn't resemble what the original home was at all. At least the house, when you renovate it, you can still, it's still your house. It's still familiar. This is completely different. It's a completely new house. So I do think you kind of missed the mark on that point.
It's a lot more casual now. It's a lot more beginner friendly now. It's made a lot of improvements to make the game easier.
I'm going to pause a lot because I really want to talk about a lot of the points that he makes. Beginner friendly. In a way, yes. It does kind of streamline you. It does kind of streamline you a little bit better through the early stages of the game, but also it doesn't. What I mean by that is one of the big problems I had when I first signed in to RS3 was the user interface, the UI. It's horrible. It's a nightmare to navigate it. It is the first time in any game that I've ever played that I have to look up a tutorial on what is a decent way to set up a UI. And it's a process that literally took me between an hour to 2 hours. So just that alone is, and I hear this a lot from the community as well, from the old school community at least, that first hops into RS3. It's a meme how bad the user interface is in RS3. And if you don't update and customize and personalize your own UI, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. The game is almost unplayable because of the ability bars, and you got to switch between all of them. And yes, it does streamline the process a little bit. It takes you through all of the combat guides and teaches you how to use every attack style, every combat style. But just something as simple as deciding what kind of XP you want to get. That I couldn't figure out for the longest of me. And I'm somebody that doesn't really like looking up guides when it comes to beginning a new game. I just kind of like to jump straight into it and, just kind of figure it out on my own. But the settings menu, it's just a disaster. It's a disaster. It's almost unusable. And it took me so long just to figure out how to set up my user interface and how to set up my something as simple as what combat XP, what kind of XP I want to get. Because that's something RS3 has that old school doesn't. Every single weapon that you use, as far as I know, you can set it to gain whatever kind of experience you want. And I think that's a pretty cool feature. I wouldn't like it in old school, but for RS3, I think it fits the game just perfectly. But it's the settings menu, the interface. It's a lot of simple things that the game should make easy. Like just look at the scroll bar at the right now. For a lot of people, that's daunting. That is, and I know it's something very simple, right? If you're a seasoned RS3 player, you're gonna be like, what do you mean, bro? Like this is very straightforward. Yes, but setting up the abilities, like something like adding them onto your ability bar, little things like that. It feels impossible in RS3 if you don't look up a guide. I had to look up a guide for all of this. So he is kind of right that RS3 streamlines a lot of the stuff for you, but it also, the most simple things that should be the easiest to do, that any person that is new to the game should be able to do without looking up a guide. And I'm a seasoned RuneScape player. Old school is different than RS3, I get that. But even though I know the game, I couldn't figure RS3 out when it came to the simple basics.
It's made grinding way easier. It's also made things a lot more efficient and streamlined to save you some time. For someone like me who's a casual gamer, I love that. And honestly, it's exactly what I was looking for. In a new RuneScape. But for other people, that may not be your cup of tea, especially if you're someone who maybe really likes a challenge. I could certainly understand how you maybe prefer old school RuneScape at that point. However, I don't believe that all the hate for this game is justified. At all. I actually think this game is great. And it doesn't really make sense to me that this game doesn't get the credit that it deserves. One thing that I find odd is if you look on the Apple App Store, old school RuneScape seems to be so much more popular than current RuneScape. Yep. Yes, I understand the popularity of it, but I still just don't understand why it's that much more popular. Because honestly, this is a much more modern and innovative version of it. Something I want to talk about is...
I think I understand at least part of the popularity disparity between the two games. So I'm going to make this one short. So I think something that would have made RuneScape 3 far more successful than it currently is if they would have released it as a separate game. And they would have left, because a lot of people, they didn't even mind RuneScape 2. Back when you got the HD graphics and you got the new animations, a lot of people didn't even really mind that. A lot of people actually like it. That's why a lot of people download HDOS and they play on that. And I honestly think if there was more plugins on HDOS, there would be a lot more people on that than there would be on RuneLite.
That's how tricky nostalgia can be. Nostalgia can blind us and it can play tricks on us, for sure. And I've played victim to it a bunch of times.
All right, this is the main topic this is the argument that a lot of RuneScape 3 players use against old school when old school players are bashing RuneScape 3. Nostalgia. All right, and actually, before I even say this, I'm ripping a lot of this from Jimmy from Old School RuneScape. He's a good content creator. He's one of the best content creators in my opinion. He makes amazing videos. I'm going to link his channel in the description. Y'all should definitely check it out. And I'm also going to link that video that he released probably like a week or two ago, talking about specifically nostalgia. And the problem is, Well, the thing is, right? If that argument was to be true, that people play old school RuneScape because of nostalgia, the game, when it was first released, it blew up, right? There was a lot of new users that signed up to play the game. And a lot of those, I would argue the big majority of those were returning players that had quit when RS3 came out. Now, the thing is, nostalgia, if it was pure nostalgia, the game wouldn't have survived past the first month. Actually, the Jagex team, they only had like what? The old school team had like 3 developers, I think. Now, the reason Jagex didn't want to put too many resources into old school was because they believed the same thing that Josh here believes, was that people just wanted it back for the nostalgia. That they didn't really want the game. They thought they did, but they didn't want it. So they only put like a handful of devs into the team. They weren't really planning any updates. We only got Nightmare Zone as an update, which if you've ever played Nightmare Zone, which I'm sure you have because, I mean, come on, everybody's played that part of the game. It's horrible. It's horrible. And the game had no updates, and the game was the game was quickly dying. So if it was purely off of nostalgia, people would have quit the game a month and a half after they played the game. What people didn't want was the nostalgia. They didn't care. I don't think people cared so much about the nostalgia. People were mad that they got rid of what most people would agree is the better game.
So many times I've gotten super excited for a remaster. I buy it right away, I boot it up, and I have no interest in it at all.
See, and that's kind of the point.
Nothing can recreate the original experience that I had with that game, despite how badly I want it to be recreated. That's why I really love RuneScape 3. It's not going to recreate the magic that I experienced in the early 2000s when I played this game. However, this is a new experience that does feel oddly familiar, but it does feel brand new. I also really love old school RuneScape. I have a blast playing that. It is nostalgic playing it, and I do enjoy it a lot. But playing RuneScape 3 honestly gives me so much appreciation for what it is. I almost feel like I fit the audience that these improvements were made for, because I absolutely love the additions in RuneScape 3. My main point is that I'm disappointed with the hate that this game gets. I don't think it's deserved, and I think it deserves more credit. This game is certainly not perfect, and it's certainly not for everybody. And if you're someone that enjoys a challenge and you enjoy a straight up grind, you probably will enjoy old school RuneScape more, and you probably won't like this game. But once again, I don't think there's any aspect of this game that deserves hate. The developers put a lot of work into this game.
That's not true. That's not true. There is absolutely some things that deserve a lot of hate from this game. And I actually fell victim to this. So when you first log into the game, and after you play through a little bit, you get bombarded, absolutely bombarded with microtransactions. Like, for example, I think it's in the bottom right above the settings right there on his screen. That's the rune metrics, I think. And which in RuneLite, it's basically like your DPS plugins, your XP per hour, all of those little stats that you get, right? RS3 actually charges you for it. You actually got to pay on top of your membership fee. You got to make another monthly payment just so you can get those stats, just so you can get that little interface, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the pay to win aspect, that it's a problem. A lot of modern games are going with the pay to win with the microtransactions. So that's whatever, right? If you want to pay to advance in the game, fine, whatever. Just don't do that in old school. But you know what? The microtransactions weren't even my biggest problem with the game. Because when I'm telling you I spent money on RS3, I spent a lot of money on RuneScape 3. And that was in a maybe 4 to 5 month span that I played the game. I'm not going to say how much I bought, but I ended up spending quite a bit of money on keys, right? My biggest problem was the outfit overrides. All right, so this is going to be voice over me. At this point in the video, for some reason, my mic started getting a lot of feedback and I was having some audio issues, so I just decided to mute it and kind of talk over it. But essentially what I was talking about was cosmetic overrides. I think RS3 has a huge problem with the cosmetic overrides. And I don't know about you, but one of my favorite parts about gaming is unlocking the actual cosmetics. And when people see you wearing that cosmetic, it kind of means something. Like in old school, you get the Trailblazer cosmetics, you get the Dead Man mode cosmetics. And here, what I'm showing is one small part of the cosmetic list that you can get from RS3. And this isn't anything that you really unlock. As far as I know, at least 99% of these cosmetics, if not all, are ones that you could just take your credit card out, type the numbers in, and purchase. And it's ridiculous. I mean, it's to the point where you don't know what people are wearing, you don't know what weapon somebody's using. And I don't know, that's something that left a sour taste in my mouth when it comes to RuneScape 3. But yeah, I think at this point we can go back to the original audio. Alright, hopefully I didn't jump scare you too much with the full screen. But I'm gonna close out the video here at this point. I don't want to rip the entire video from this guy. He worked pretty hard on the video, so I don't want to just straight up take his content. But anyways, just to close things out, I do think there's a lot of merits to RuneScape 3. I do think it's an enjoyable game. If you go in there and you do some of the elite raids, not elite raids, elite dungeons, just some of the bossing mechanics and end game content is really fun. If you go and you try necromancy, I think you're gonna have a really good time. Anything else, I think, is just over the top. You don't learn your abilities as you level up. It's not a good system. Necromancy though, if they were to rework all of the other abilities, I think that would solve a lot of the combat issues, if they made it more like necromancy. But anyways, just to close the video out and give my last remarks, it's a really good video by Josh. I actually enjoyed it, and I do think some of the points he made were valid. I do think RuneScape 3 is an enjoyable game. It's not old school. If you're looking for the old school experience, the only similarity that you're gonna find is some of the lore and the fact that it's a point and click based type of MMORPG. Other than that, the game is just completely separate. It's completely different. So don't go, if you do decide to go in and try RS3, don't go into it with the mindset of, okay, I'm trying old school RuneScape, because you're just gonna absolutely hate it. You got to go into it with a fresh mind, like if it's a new game. And yeah, that's gonna be my baby in the background. I'm not gonna redo this because I've done it like 5 times. But Josh, by the way, this isn't a hate video, man. I really enjoyed the video, and I'm checking out some of your content. And hey man, I'm looking forward to seeing more of your stuff. But anybody that's watching, please don't go over to the channel and don't hate on the video, don't dislike, don't comment anything negative, because there's no point. And if you do that, you're kind of trash, to be honest. So anyways, Josh, that was a good video, man. Hopefully you don't mind me taking some of your content just so I can voice over it and give my feedback. It's just my honest opinion, and I think it makes a good back and forth for the RS3 community and the old school community, because there is a big divide between the two of them, and it'd be nice to kind of have it bridged back together, because I think it would make for some interesting content. Like old school obviously takes some of the RS3 concepts, like Iraq site is coming into old school, and I think that's pretty cool. I had a lot of fun with that boss in RS3, and hopefully we can open up the discussion to talk about the two games and how we can kind of bring them together a little bit more, while it still stays true to the true nature of the game that it's being implemented into. So yeah, everybody, if you watched, I hope you enjoyed. Josh, if you do happen to see this, man, I hope that you know it's not a negative. I hope that you don't think I'm bashing you. I hope that you don't think I'm trashing the video. I really enjoyed it. But anyways, thank you so much, man. If you're watching this up to this point, subscribe, like, comment, and yep, I hope y'all have a good one, man. Deuces.